Truth, logic, action, power. It's the GreggHoush show here on New Revolutionary Radio. From the Leonard School in Malden, Massachusetts, Gregg and company are here to bring a sense of ethics to your news. Whether it's politics, activism, or current events, we always seek to inform and never to deceive. Let's start the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 48 of the GreggHoush show with my wonderful co-host, Kayla.
I'm back.
She is.
I'm here.
She took a week off there.
No, I was in the fetal position from a migraine. That's always fun.
Yeah. And we believe her too. I'm saying that with all honesty.
Yeah, no sarcasm in your voice at all.
None
Yeah.
at all.
When you get migraines, let's see how you do.
And of course,
It's
as
the
always,
Mac Daddy!
Mac.
That was surprisingly loud.
That was surprisingly loud here in studio, where we do not currently have the foam up on the walls or anything else because we have moved studios. That'll be next week, and maybe you guys are hearing a little more reverb out there, but we'll try and clean that up.
I'm told the episodes sound a little crisper now.
Reverb will help with that, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know what those words mean.
Hey, well then, not going to go there. Something we were talking about right before we went on that I did want to kind of mention that I just thought was, an interesting side note to the whole Stormy Daniels thing is that, her story's worth a lot of money if sold to the wrong people, to tell it their way, hard copy and all those types of horrible shows. And she's doing it right. She's offering all the money back that anyone wants, if anyone will take it. She is offering to directly wire it. She went to 60 Minutes and gave the interview, and she could have taken a payday here.
I mean, she still could.
Yeah,
It'd just be like wait for the movie deal or the book deal or
Right.
something.
Yeah,
But,
she can
if you
definitely
tell the whole story in the 60 Minutes interview, which they're pretty good at getting out, and she says she did, then, I don't need to go buy the book.
Well, no, I mean...
So a lot of times...
But at the same time, like, how long...
They'll do it, in combination. And,
Right.
and she's, like, just giving up the ghost before all the other deals are in
Look,
place.
I'm just going to be really sad if they don't have the movie deal because, I, for one, am looking forward to the porn parody of the real story.
Well,
I'm
that's
sure-
coming anyway.
Well, I'm
Well,
sure
yes,
the porn parody is already up.
Yeah, I'm sure if you just looked on Pornhub right now, it'd all be there.
It's like we already know that,
Look, I
like,
just want
certain
one of
things.
Look, I just want one that's like
For some
officially
reason-
a parody of another movie that's already about this story.
I don't know. I wish this played better on, radio, but for some reason, as we start talking about porn, people in our wonderful engineering booth start cheerleading. So I guess that's how it goes
Because
around
they're
here.
feverishly like looking on Pornhub right now, trying to
right?
find the
And now,
parody.
they are now currently doing the research.
Yeah.
That we should have done before the show.
Yeah,
Well,
but
it didn't
like,
occur to us previously.
I know,
Because we would have played the sound
You're
for
right.
you.
We
no.
would like to
oh,
have an excerpt.
please don't. I'm
No.
already.
No, we don't need any of
I
that.
don't need to lose my lunch or dinner. But the thing is, like, well, what I. No, the thing about like Stormy Daniels, her like going to 60 Minutes and like offering the money back to Trump. I think that the offering. Well, first of all, she's got a very fine looking attorney, so good for you, girl, for getting an attractive one.
And one that's easily more competent than all of Trump's combined.
Yeah, and
That is admittedly not a high bar.
right. Like, I mean, it's hard for us to find like an attorney that like speaks like for one of these people. Like, by these people, I mean someone associated with Trump.
Right.
Yeah. You've already judged an attorney based on looks, and now you're calling them these people.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of smart ones involved with Trump.
You're just,
No, but like those attorneys that he picks that are involved with that whole circus, they're just always looking more circus-like.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's like you have a well put together, a competent, articulate, very handsome man coming on the TV set, like even like reporters are like, can we have him back on? Let's talk about her again. It's just any way to have him back on.
Right? The ratings went
You're like,
up.
I don't want to look at Sam Nunberg again. Let's
No,
have
That
him
is
back
true.
on.
Oh, God.
No one wants to look at. Oh man, there's another story we didn't even make it into the notes this week.
There's just a lot of them. But, the big one this week is World War III, gets ever closer.
Is that the big one though?
I mean,
I don't know. Maybe.
it's kind of like 4 different stories in one, so I feel like it kind of is.
So,
Yeah.
the UK is accusing the Russians of the assassination attempt on their
Shockingly
soil
enough.
there.
Well, they gave them 48 hours to prove them wrong.
Uh-huh.
And
Russia said, no, you.
As they do.
Which is what
Well,
you do.
That's basically their default response to these kinds of
yeah,
Yeah.
accusations.
well, because it's like they find the nerve gas. Well, how many people have nerve gas?
Also,
Yeah.
it's
And
a
then how many
specific
people have
category
this
of
very
nerve gas
special
that
one?
was developed by Russia.
Yeah, so it's like you're really you're really helping us guess who this game down.
Well, last time we got a high profile, outside of Russian territory assassination by Russia, it was with polonium-210. So they aren't really trying to hide who's
No,
responsible.
it's a thing that they have that
It's
we
almost
don't.
like they put a stamp on their victims.
It's almost like it's about sending a message to the other people that might otherwise do those same activities that are what got those people killed.
And now, is this person connected to the Steele dossier or no?
Sort of indirectly.
Because I was going to say, what's the number at now with the dead
Well,
Russians?
this person is Sergei Skripal.
Yes,
and
who, of
and
course,
daughter
we talked about last week,
and
although
all
Kayla
the,
missed.
of course, other victims who were just basically nearby because this was a very botched, messed up kind of an attempt.
Well,
here.
it was
they
that-
just didn't even care.
it was
No.
out in public.
Yeah.
Apparently, they believe that it was actually administered to a item of clothing or something else in her luggage in Russia before they left, and so it just got anyone that was like exposed to the luggage or the clothing or anything was exposed to it as a result.
Perfect.
Yeah,
So she was probably on a commercial flight, most likely United because they don't give a fuck.
So the UK, of course, kicks out 23 Russians and then puts sanctions, financial sanctions on a bunch of others and
and they're
freezes
talking
state
about
assets.
they're doing their version of the Magnitsky Act.
Yeah, it's and then finally, like some kind of a miracle, you actually hear words out of Trump's mouth saying that Russia probably did this.
I mean, it took like 2 days after everyone else had already said it and didn't happen until after Rex Tillerson blamed Russia and then got fired.
Yeah.
And then after Nunes closed the investigation down too.
Yes.
So, which is probably just him doing some weird, strategy that in his head thinks can justify a way to fire Mueller.
I mean, I want to say more there, but I know we'll be talking about that later.
I know.
We'll get
It's
to
like-
that one later.
I don't even have to speculate anymore. Like, I just have to wait 5 minutes and I get my answers.
Well, you'll get some of them and know that more are going to be coming in another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we also ended up with Nikki Haley, our ambassador to the UN, actually calling out Russia and blaming them outright for this on the open floor for everyone in the world to hear.
Which is a difference because she's usually spending that time threatening the rest of the international community.
Right.
So she just singled out one country this time.
Yeah. But, no, she spends her time saying, stop saying those bad things about Russia a lot of the time, too. And now all of a sudden she's saying those bad things about Russia.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. The UK, this was a double agent, working both sides there.
I think he stopped working because he was known.
Well, he was a double agent.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
then he got didn't he get
basically
asylum?
retired.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, he was-
they
although
kind-
there was some
But
people
this is the
saying
Russian
that
version of
maybe
retirement.
he wasn't entirely retired.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a cover story. We don't know if that's true or not. Either way,
It's just
certainly
like when
he
someone
has,
tells you they were a CIA agent, you can't know because they can't. There's no proving that.
Yeah, because
they're-
aren't they not supposed to say that
Yeah.
they're CIA?
Oh, the CIA has a standing policy of not acknowledging who was actually
Yeah.
Yeah,
working
so
in
who
any sort of
knows?
sensitive position.
Yeah, but we know
But
that he was in. They were him and his
He
daughter were
was a
Russian.
double agent at some point.
Yeah,
in
like
the
he-
90s.
Yeah.
And we know he's a Russian national, and he was asylum, or he.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
He
if
was part of a trade, a hostage trade.
Yeah.
He was I
No,
don't know if he was
prisoner trade.
officially given asylum or
Yeah.
how the legal status there works.
Yeah, but he was part of a prisoner
practically
trade.
speaking.
Basically, a bunch of ours for a bunch of yours.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out. But it's going to be more sanctions. It's going to be more people kicked out.
I don't know.
And then that's followed by the UK saying that they're going to do more, that more is coming here, and that the investigation is ongoing. And then the White House finally, like back to back, sanctions Russia for the election interfering.
Yeah, the one that Congress unanimously passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, we should specify because what they did was they sanctioned 19 Russian nationals and 5 organizations, many of whom, it so happens, are the ones that Mueller indicted for the election interference. What was that, last week, 2 weeks ago?
100 years ago.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what
100
time
years,
is.
Yeah,
I don't know what time is.
This is the Trump era. Everything like more than 24 hours ago was years in the past.
Tuesday feels like a week ago right now.
If only. Like this morning was a week ago, and Tuesday was like, I don't know, the dim era of the past when Obama was still president.
And what was funny about so was it Monday night this week? Today's Thursday for us, but so there's a Monday night when Rex was coming out, like NBC was like reporting like him saying that like yes, basically backing Theresa May, saying that like yes, they are responsible for this nerve gas. Yes, if they don't answer, this is going to trigger a response, and yes, like America like is going to have a response too. And then a friend of mine I was chatting with, because we were both like, this is very serious. This is an act of war. And, in any other period of time, this would be an act of war. And my friend's response was like, oh, Rex will be out tomorrow. And less than 12 hours later, it was announced via Twitter.
Which apparently is also how Rex found out.
Yeah. So, which is a great way. I mean, at least Comey got cable news, I guess.
But then after the fact, they retroactively told us, no, he basically knew Friday.
Yeah, and then he gave a press statement later that same day and was like, no, I didn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I had no idea I was getting fired soon.
I do like the nice touch that, within the space of a couple of days, we had the Treasury Department announcing that they're going to be sanctioning a bunch of people over the very actions that, the Mueller investigation is prosecuting them over. The Treasury under Trump, whose administration denies Russian election interference.
Yeah. I just like that, the reason being given for why we're using sanctions when they're, killing people is that sanctions seem to really make them angry. Like, it's like we're trolling them with sanctions.
It is true. They do really make them angry. They are super pissed off about the Magnitsky Act.
Yeah. And if the Trump administration really was convinced that, like, there was no collusion, they would have sanctioned them back when Congress passed the sanctions.
Like, remember a month ago when everyone was bitching about how Trump wasn't actually enforcing the sanctions?
No, they came out and said they weren't going to enforce them. They made that statement.
No, they said that they had done a review and concluded that they were already, like, everything that needed to be done was already being done. Like, it was like such a bullshit excuse that it was even worse than like outright just being like, nope, we're not doing it. It was like, no, we already did it.
Yeah.
But you didn't do anything. No, we already did it.
Yeah, which is, I mean, sure, maybe sanctions aren't a great idea, but at the same time, like if a person in the position of president is blatantly ignoring the entire Congress when they pass virtually unanimous, I think there was like 4
4 or 5 or something
that like voted against it,
and that was with that being like tied to like stricter sanctions against Iran that like fucking no one wanted.
Yeah, so it's like. And the fact that like the president is going to blatantly ignore Congress by like voting for this, like that should be a sign of like, hey, there's something wrong with this guy.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's actually for the position of like upholding the position of president. But no, they let it go months and months and months. And all of a sudden now Russia is attacking the UK, inside the UK, with nerve gas, which, what the fuck?
Well, they're doing worse in Syria. They did worse in Ukraine. I mean, like,
yeah, but no one pays attention to those because those aren't developed nations.
And we have another person to blame in those countries, not Russia.
Yes.
But this one, we only have Russia to blame.
And of course, Tillerson is out, which makes room for Trump's best buddy, Mike Pompeo.
Yeah.
And Mike Pompeo should be nobody's choice for Secretary of State, as this is...
maybe choice of prosecutee for war crimes.
Yeah, this is definitely someone who I would consider a war criminal who should hold no position of power.
Alongside his replacement for new CIA director, Gina Haspel. And boy, they are just... a collection of war criminals who are super enthusiastic about torturing people.
Yeah, she was very, very clear in her support of torture and her defense of the tactics used under Bush, and so clear that they were the right thing to do that she decided to issue orders to destroy all of the evidence that she could.
Yeah, she technically, I guess, mostly most of the final decisions were a supervisor of hers, but she was definitely a major advocate of destroying the records of what they were doing.
Yeah, that's how
for
you get
all
away
the
with
black
things.
sites.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which it should be noted that she was the head of one of the black sites in the mid 2000s for a while.
Yeah, the black site in Thailand there.
Yeah,
She,
the one that had previously been engaging in, torturing people like Zubadiah.
Yeah, so we've got an absolute fan of torture who likes destroying the evidence of torture, going in to head the CIA now.
Well, she's replacing someone who already was a huge fan of torture.
But
so.
to be fair, like the CIA loves torture.
Yeah,
yeah, that
I
is
mean,
kind
like,
of
in
that
fact, kind of
That's
anyone in line for that job right now probably.
I mean, like CIA's whole shtick is like torture.
I mean, we do every so often get like interviews with, former CIA personnel who are like, so, I was actually involved in interrogations and I can tell you conclusively that torture is fucking worthless at best. But no one ever seems to listen to them.
Yeah, I mean, like, or we can like go. I mean, at least they've moved their torture from like America to like overseas.
Yeah, now they have to
smarten
like
up a little
try
bit.
and like they understand that it looks bad now.
Yeah, like they're not doing it on children anymore.
John Sifton from the Asia Advocacy, the Asia Advocacy Director of the Human Rights Watch, told Al Jazeera that this is the most problematic by far in terms of nominations.
Boy, and that is a wide-ranging statement here.
I forget the number, but there is a handful of human rights groups that are planning on basically trying to block her confirmation.
The European Center for Constitutional and Human Rights in June of 2017 requested that the German public prosecutor issue an arrest warrant for Haspel for her role in the torture at the black site in Thailand. I mean, so this is literally someone who the global community are asking for arrest warrants for, who is now being offered a high-ranking job in U.S. government.
And also, seriously, just like, never mind the arrest warrants for a second. Just the fact that not only was she a proponent of torture, but then worked to cover up the evidence that the CIA was engaging in that expressly illegal activity.
And didn't she testify about it in front of Congress too? And like,
I do believe she did.
And then like there was a whole bunch of lies there when they were testifying about it.
Yeah, so before becoming director of the CIA, she already has a long, wonderful history of lying to Congress.
And just, it's hard to phrase, hard to describe this as anything other than criminal acts, unless you're going to go with something stronger like crimes against humanity.
If we don't see her nomination fail, if we don't see a backbone come out of this Congress and they stop her, that is
especially since
one of the most problematic things yet.
And that is such a high bar at this point. Yeah, like every single secretary nomination to date practically.
But I mean, like the Republicans are like super against like overreach of government right now. So like,
are they?
Yeah, like they're really against like the FBI using their power. So they're gonna step up and like stop this like confirmation because they're super against abuse of power.
Yeah, like that. All that effort they went to before they reauthorized the FISA Act.
Like they're like so against FISA.
They were like, man, we got to put some restrictions on the ability to just get FISA warrants for having conversations with foreign spies.
But you know what I kind of enjoy about all these firings and like just moving like their as players around into like double positions is that like Chris Christie still has not been given a position, and he's like eagerly like waiting there by the phone, being like, another one's gone. He's gonna call me this time. This one's it. This one's it. I can tell.
I think at this point Chris Christie has figured out.
No, because he's on the Sunday shows now. He's been trying to put his face on the Sunday shows because he knows Trump watches the Sunday shows.
But that just means he knows he's a bitch.
Yeah. So he's trying to make sure Trump knows.
Doesn't mean he's
available.
Expecting like.
So like he sits there and he's like pleading to the camera because you know how like Chris Christie will always panders to the camera, like he's like, Trump, I'm here for you. I'm still by the phone.
And you know, of all the people,
I'm available for your jobs.
Of all the people on that side, I do actually enjoy watching him, though.
Ugh, I can't fucking stand that.
I mean, it's just his frankness. Even though almost everything he says is horrible and wrong, he will just say exactly like first thing out of his head will just dump into the microphone. And like all the other people that could possibly be there spouting out Trump stuff are like so coached and so just prepared statements, and he will just sit there and say what's on his mind. It's always fucking horrible, but it's what's on his mind.
Because it's like you've got two different like camps right now. You've got the people that are coached who are like, okay, I'm in this to win it, no matter what, no matter how many souls I have to break, and like I'm on the Trump team. And then you've got the people that are like, I don't want to be fucking near Trump anymore. Like he is poison. I won't like don't. I like even Trey Gowdy is a little bit like on that. Like now I gotta keep my distance. I've seen the evidence.
Generally, any Republican that has resigned from their office in the last year kind of falls on the latter
and then
side.
Meanwhile,
there.
like Chris Christie is still sitting there going like as an eager little like puppy, being like, I'm still here waiting
Put
for
me
you.
in, coach. Put me in.
I'm ready. Been waiting. I've got water and everything.
You know, speaking of people kind of in that position, you know who we haven't heard I haven't heard anything from in a while?
Oh God, who?
Rudy Giuliani.
Oh God.
I mean, he was basically the Chris Christie of New York for a while.
Well, he's on the dark web now. He's
I
hiding over there
thought
because
he was
he's like
in
head
his
of
coffin, like
cybersecurity.
getting new blood or something like that.
I mean, I kind of thought he wanted to stay out of the public eye because, you know, there's maybe the possibility that just maybe the branch of the FBI in New York that he has close ties to was kind of leaking information to the Trump camp for a while.
Kinda maybe.
Kind of maybe.
Well, we'll
lots
find
of
out
it.
if he's being subpoenaed to Mueller soon. So,
Yep,
or if he's already talked. We don't know. He could have already talked to him.
It's true. I mean, we just found out. What, today or yesterday? That,
Today.
Mueller has been subpoenaing financial records from the Trump organization.
Yeah.
That has been for weeks apparently, or at least a week or two now.
Yeah, but we just found out today. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like a week ago, and it's like that was literally like at
literally
lunchtime
earlier today.
And of course, the Trump organization's representatives say we have been cooperating fully.
Even though
Which is why they totally why they subpoenaed those requests rather than just
Indeed.
asking for the documents.
Yeah, even though like all of them are still, no one's resigned from the Trump organization. Ivanka is still on the Trump, like, is collecting, getting paid by Trump organization. Trump is still getting paid by the Trump organization, and we just found out that the DOJ charged what $400,000 this year alone. To Trump, or was charged by the Trump organization like $400,000 just like in 2018. It's just,
I believe that is referred to as a conflict.
Yes.
I mean, you can't like they're using it to like, I mean, get their own gains, which is like, wow, shocker. We never saw this one coming. I just enjoy the fact that Vanessa Trump just filed for divorce.
Yeah, that was I'm looking forward to more on that one. That story just came out a little while before we started recording.
Donald Trump Jr.'s wife is filing for divorce.
She's filed.
And here's what's interesting about this.
So I want to see that complaint.
So what? Well, so she filed in a way where it says this isn't going to be contentious. She's filed in a way where it says that there's an agreement that they're putting in place.
Yeah, I forget what it's called, but there's if it's a non-dispute or
it's a non-disputed divorce. But here's the trick for her. If she didn't sign a prenup at the beginning of their marriage that included a confidentiality clause, and it had to include it when she signed it at the beginning, it's not a thing that she can be compelled to sign now at this point for part of the divorce, then she will no longer be covered by spousal immunity for interrogation in questioning.
My understanding is even if she did sign a contract, that contract
is null and void for criminal investigations.
You can't be compelled to refuse to testify if you wish to about criminal matters.
Yeah, and if they're divorced at the time of trial, Downey Jr. goes to trial because he's going
she
to.
no longer has spousal immunity,
Yeah,
and the contract can't be held to be enforced against criminal testimony about criminal acts.
Yeah, he can't.
So the lawyers that were talking a hell of a lot on MSNBC earlier were very clear that if she had that in her prenup, she could totally claim the fifth and be perfectly fine in it.
She could claim the fifth under that circumstance, yes.
But he can't compel her not to. Like, if she wants to talk...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they can't take away
she can
her
totally, because of that...
Yeah.
Well, no. But if she were to talk about things that were covered by the confidentiality agreement, then could be sued by them after the fact, is what they were saying.
My understanding is that wouldn't hold.
Who knows?
I mean, admittedly, not a lawyer there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but I mean,
that's what they were talking about. It's weird. It's all fresh, so we'll learn a lot
But
more
also,
over the next couple
we
days.
also learned through like I think it was the Marla Maples, the second divorce, that like there was like the confidentiality agreement that he made. It was Marla the second wife.
I don't keep count of his wives.
Well, I just know it was the second one. It came out that like the confidentiality agreement that he made her sign was actually null and void by New York law.
Oh, he has repeatedly had people sign ones that are.
We at this point, it doesn't even matter. Like chances are, whatever confidentiality agreement maybe if Vanessa Trump signed, it's probably null and void. It's probably illegal, like entirely.
I mean, honestly, a lot of confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements are in fact completely unenforceable, and the whole point is,
especially when it comes to a marriage.
Yes, but I mean, even just in general terms, a huge number of them are simply legally invalid, or at least could be under the right circumstances. And it's entirely the fact that someone in a position of power got someone else to sign the agreement in the first place, and now that's in their head that they signed that agreement, and there could be trouble if they don't follow through. It's really these sorts of agreements are often just a means of coercing silence. They're not legally enforceable.
Yeah, they're intimidation.
I find it interesting that a lot of the people talking about it today too were talking about one of the things she said being that the contentions were over various political musings, but more specifically related to all of his Twitter, all of his tweets protecting his father and defending his father against any and all attackers were really starting to get to her.
Yeah, because he's probably gone like psycho in the house, and he's probably like turned into like some type of like less intelligent, beautiful mind like creature where he's just like constantly thinking people are probing him. And I mean, at this point, you know that Vanessa's just trying to get all of her assets away from his because his is going to get frozen soon. So she's like, I need to have money for my children, and I need you a hell away from me.
Yep.
I just want to, I mean, girl, tell all. Go to 60 Minutes too.
Yeah, right?
Let's have a Trump special night with Stormy and Vanessa.
I got a better idea. How about they go talk to Mueller first?
Oh, I'm sure she already will. I'm sure she's probably like...
once the spousal immunity's gone.
Or no, she's probably USB backed up all that, everything. Because, he's tweeting out evidence. Imagine when he's just leaving on the kitchen table.
Right. So... Now let's
big
talk.
Folder with red marker. Just
Don't
labeling,
open this.
Do not open Russia agreement.
I know, right?
Oh, right.
Trump, Donnie Jr. Trump special, or like confidential, like for my eyes only.
So, Devin Nunes.
Oh, speaking of shitty people.
Talk about that piece of shit.
Yeah, let's.
So he has decided basically by himself that the investigation's over because there's no collusion. And then put out stuff that the Democratic half of his wonderful council hadn't even, seen yet.
Yep.
And said, nope, it's over.
They didn't
interview any of the people. They didn't interview any of the people who actually got indicted, who actually did stuff.
Yeah, like every single person that has gotten indicted so far by the Mueller investigation never testified.
I think, did they even bring in like Manafort or Flynn?
No, nobody.
Because I know like once
they actually interviewed like no one.
Yeah, literally no one.
No one with any actual information or connection.
Yeah, no, I know. I heard Adam Schiff speak a little bit, and then there was someone else. But I forget who. It was another gentleman on the House committee, basically saying that like we have tried to motion for like to bring in interviews, and they've just stonewalled us the entire time. Like left us out of meetings, had meetings without telling us.
Well, Adam Schiff's statement is, quote, "In the coming weeks and months, new information will continue to be exposed through enterprising journalism, indictments by the special counsel, or continued investigative work by committee Democrats and our counterparts in the Senate. And each time this new information becomes public, Republicans will be held accountable for abandoning a critical investigation of such vital national importance."
That's actually just the capstone at the end of his page-long statement that he issued. Two other members of the House Intelligence Committee have also commented on the 150-page report put out by a couple of the Republican members of the committee, Jim Himes of Connecticut, tweeted out, interesting. I'm on the House Intel Committee, and this is the first I've seen of this one-pager and its conclusions. That's what he had to say about the brief about the report. So literally a member of the committee didn't even know.
A Republican member of the committee?
No, he's Democratic.
Oh. This is nuts.
Yeah, Jim Himes, Eric Swalwell.
Oh, wait, no, Rooney is the Republican with his fun stuff.
Yeah, not even just the Democrats. A Republican actually started breaking ranks on this.
Good old
Tom Rooney of Florida told
because Devin News is
Florida
the
man,
biggest
Tom Rooney.
parrot. He's the biggest White House parrot that he makes Republicans Paul Ryan made them look bad, but he makes them look so much worse than Paul Ryan. You know, the fact that he will bend over backwards for the White House, and he's not even good enough about at least Paul Ryan can pretend he doesn't hear you by just not speaking or moving. Nunes just won't stop talking.
Yeah.
Now the interesting thing is that Rooney himself,
Andy, right?
No, Tom Rooney
or Emily.
Earlier this month called for an end to the House Intelligence Committee investigation. So it's not exactly he's someone that you would normally perceive as siding with the Democrats on this. And yet he went on Aaron Burnett out front Monday and said, quote, "We've gone completely off the rails, and now we're basically a political forum for people to leak information to drive the day's news." And also said, quote, "We have lost all credibility, and we're going to have to issue probably 2 different reports, unfortunately. So in that regard, that's why I called for the investigation to end."
Oh, because it was making a mockery of them, or
pretty much.
And he actually, I don't have the quotes in front of me, but he actually talked about how yes, there is evidence that Russia tried to influence the elections and took specific actions. But then he does the line that a number of other Republicans have tried to take, where no, see, the Republicans worked for and against both sides because it was all about
the Russians
just chaos.
Worked against both.
Yeah.
Well, James Clapper was on the phone on CNN when it just came out, and he comes on and he's on I forget which CNN show it was. It could have been Aaron too, but he was on the phone. He was basically saying well, I agree with them calling it down because I've seen the evidence and yeah, I agree that they wanted Russia did want to hurt Hillary and did actually try to work to hurt Hillary, but I don't see how that was any way connected to Trump. And it's she's the other candidate, so even if they don't specifically had him in mind, hurting Hillary is helping Trump.
Yeah, so I could see the argument that someone could have the motive of hurting Hillary rather than the motive of helping Trump.
Yeah, but they're using it as a way of it has nothing to do with Trump whatsoever.
Right.
He is not.
It's more by itself, it's not proof that they were doing that thing, but at the very least.
But it's you have to acknowledge that it helped Trump. Yes. And if you can't do that, you're part of it. You're a part of the problem.
Anyone that wants to talk about how the Russians were a large portion of their goal was to cause chaos, and they were willing to support or detract from, or at least appear to, anyone in order to achieve their goal. Well, absolutely. We know that for a fact. We know that they organized a pro-Hillary rally that was there to make Hillary look bad.
Yeah, they did a whole bunch of things.
They did all sorts of stuff, and they were willing to pose as members of any group. That doesn't mean that they weren't actually working to one specific end.
Yeah, and also at the same time, even if the Russia... that doesn't mean that you go and take Russia's help, too.
No.
They reached out to the Trump campaign, and Johnny Jr., we know from the emails that he tweeted out, was yeah, sure, I'll take it. Yeah, we can meet.
And
I can take your help.
All of the other incredibly improbable sequence of coincidences that involved apparently every single person within 6 degrees of Donald Trump having met with Russian spies multiple times over, often in private meetings, that they then proceeded to lie to the public and or Congress about.
Right? And it's and before that, it's not like Trump was a good person before he went into politics.
Yeah, it's not
it's he was already a corrupt con man and criminal already.
In fact, that's pretty much literally the thing that he was famous for in the first place.
Yeah.
Aside from being a slumlord.
Yeah, it's he was already a criminal to begin with. The whole family was already being investigated for crimes. So it's like it's not like he was a good person beforehand, and he's just like a victim of Russia's conspiracy. It's like no. He was a criminal beforehand. He saw that Russia was willing to help him. They took Russia's help.
Also, all these people in his circle that apparently, got in touch with Russia, it's weird how all of them seem to be criminals. Many career criminals.
Yeah. And a lot
Many
of them,
have gone to jail over their criminal actions.
and so many are in debt to Russia.
What a coincidence.
So weird. I wonder how this works out. Oh, man.
What are the odds?
Strangest thing.
How could such a sequence of unlikely coincidences come about?
Oh, man.
Unbelievably stupid voters.
Yeah.
Voting for an
The
idiot.
dumbest people possible.
The most transparently criminal people possible.
Oh my God. It's insane how terrible these people are at crimes. And yet they continue to get away with them.
Anyone that thinks that anyone that was previously under the impression that in order to be a successful career criminal and not, spend your entire life in prison, you have to be smart or good at something. All of these people should disabuse you of that notion, because holy shit, they are not even trying. Or correction, if this is them trying, they need to just stop.
I would hate.
Give up.
Seriously.
So at this point, there's no more House Russia probe, but there's still a Senate Russia probe.
And there's
And
still
of course,
the
the
Mueller.
Mueller
Yeah.
Still the Mueller investigation. And so the House probe really wasn't going to do anything with its current leadership.
We always knew that it's been kind of a running joke pretty much the entire time.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's just what Trump needs is that ego boost of being no collusion in the House, and and now people are not, they're kind of fearing in a speculative way that is he going to use this to oust Mueller? And he legally can't. He needs Rod Roden, whatever his name.
Rosenstein.
I can never remember which name or syllable goes first. He needs him to do it first, but it doesn't mean necessarily like we just said. Trump just does things, so
It would not be the first time that Trump has just blatantly ignored the law.
yeah. And
In fact, that seems to be his modus operandi.
and he would just fire him via Twitter, thinking that that's what you can do. And then of course CNN's going to go into a tizzy, being he just fired Mueller. He just fired Mueller
Well,
on Twitter, and
see,
even though it's there's laws still in place.
I mean, here's the thing. Under other circumstances, I would be a lot more concerned about that. But, well, we know that he already tried to fire Mueller.
Yeah, it is true.
And
Almost a year ago
yeah.
now.
Didn't go anywhere.
It's 7 or 8 months now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
over half a year ago, he already tried to do that, and his own White House counsel threatened to resign instead. So the fact that he already tried and it didn't work, I feel a little better about. I'm still not super confident, but I
just want someone to start following Trump around now that these subpoenas against the actual Trump organization have started to come out of the investigation. I want someone to follow him around with a little Bluetooth speaker, right? That's just playing the Jaws music right before the shark jumps out. just play that right behind Trump. Everywhere he walks, just he doesn't know when it's coming. That would make my day. And any prankster out there want to make my day, that's the move.
I mean,
Right?
I'm just going to throw this out there. An acceptable substitute for the Jaws theme is the very Jaws-inspired beginning music from Spaceballs,
Yes.
where they just repeat the little string
Yep.
thing over and over.
So now we go to Pennsylvania. Not that I ever actually want to go to Pennsylvania,
Well, it's funny. Speaking of trying,
but
Democrats finally did.
Connor Lamb, a Democrat, although a conservative one compared to most Democrats.
Well, he ran
still,
it's a very deep red district. You have to run
still
conservatively.
a Democrat just
it's-
took a
it is
seat that
interesting,
the
though.
Republicans outright owned for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean,
they gerrymandered it to own it.
oh, and I mean, we're talking about a seat that wasn't even contested in 2014 or 2016. The last
Exactly.
time it was contested, 2012, Tim Murphy, the previous incumbent, won by almost 30 points.
Now, is that the one that asked for his mistress to get an
Yes,
abortion?
that is.
Oh yeah,
That's why he resigned, and now we had a special election.
Oh yeah, because the pro-life man asked his mistress to get an abortion.
Nice.
Now,
That's what the Republicans are.
the thing that's interesting to me is, we often see this tension in the Democratic Party when it comes to these red districts, where on the one hand, half the time we have the right-wing faction of the Democratic Party insisting that we have to be pragmatic and that you can't run a progressive candidate in these districts, and that the progressive candidate will simply get slaughtered and doesn't stand a chance, and you have to run based on the district and all of this stuff to that effect. And
well, I think you should run for the district.
Sure, absolutely. But it's interesting because we have that. On the one hand, we have the right wing of the Democratic Party making that argument. And on the other hand, we have the left wing of the Democratic Party that often says, but, if we don't have the shared values and the people aren't willing to stand up for what's right, basically ever, then what's the fucking point of voting for the Democrat in the first place? And then, of course, we have the other way around where, the progressives go, okay, well, this person agrees with enough of our stuff that we can tolerate them, and they're not outright terrible on stuff, so I guess. And then we have the right wing of the Democratic Party going, oh, but they're not sufficiently pro-abortion enough.
Yeah, they're not leftist enough. When apparently they were running.
They're not. It's not a matter of leftist or not. It's like one issue that's not even a left-right.
Well, apparently in this election they switched because like the
yeah, exactly.
Which I think is funny because like the tariffs were put in place for this election.
Yep.
They ran all these tax cuts ads for this election in this district, and guess what? The tax cuts aren't helping regular people like this district is full of. And this district apparently was very blue collar, very union.
Oh yeah.
But it was also very fucking white.
Very.
So you kind of have to pick and choose your battles, and I think for the Democratic Party, we need to you need to look at your district. You need to know what you need to have. I think for the Democratic Party as a whole, there should be key positions you should always have. Like you should be pro-choice.
Or at least not
vote for an abortion ban.
I mean, I'm willing to I'm willing to like tolerate the position that people like Connor Lamb have, where they're like, I'm personally anti-abortion, but I don't believe that my personal beliefs should be enshrined in law to affect everyone.
But see, I look at that as pro-choice because you can be personally against it.
I mean, literally, you are correct.
Yeah.
That is the definition of pro-choice.
Yeah. So there's certain things that as a Democrat we shouldn't buck on. It's like for that those and we can as a whole party we can pick and choose what those key positions are. But then it's like other wiggle rooms in between because not every district is the same and not every district has the same needs. And I think Connor Lamb did a good job at running for this district. And sure, he's not going to maybe come out and say all the crazy things that Bernie says, because that's not what's going to win him the election.
I mean, I'm not going to say that he would have necessarily won that election if he had. It's just very interesting that this is, it's on the one hand, they're making a big deal about, this is a great example of how you have to run for the district and, conservative Democrats and stuff. On the other hand, he's also, despite being what you'd call a conservative Democrat, we're talking about someone who outright supports universal health care, supports Obamacare, opposed, the Trump tax bill. Like, he's not really all that far off from...
Well, he's not your standard fiscal conservative.
Yeah.
They're talking about conservative in terms of more like, Second Amendment and things like that.
Right. It's just very interesting that, we see the right wing of the Democratic Party citing him as this, big example of the thing they've been talking about when he's actually not really all that far off from
but the thing that when they say the thing we've been talking about means, AKA, I actually talked with the constituents of the district and I figured out how to run a successful campaign.
Except that's not at all what they're talking about, because we've seen the candidates they run and the candidates they support and the candidates they talk shit about.
Well, that's because the Democratic Party doesn't actually talk with the people.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
They're the ones saying, this is exactly what we've been talking about. And I'm like, but
that's
exactly not what you're talking about.
No, it's like you're not doing it. You're not doing it, and you're not even talking about it. It's like, so someone took it into their own hands to talk with the people, learn what they needed, learn, had his own morals and convictions,
And there are 119 other Republican-held congressional districts that are considered at least as competitive as
No,
PA
less
18.
competitive, because this was an insanely competitive
Yeah.
district.
I don't know
The
exactly
same
what the breakdown
level,
is, but this or less, this or more competitive.
So I know I saw someone tweeted out like a whole bunch of districts that were like significantly less, and so this was like a plus, I think, 18 to 20 point margin in favor of Republicans.
Yeah,
Paul Ryan's district is like a +4.
Yeah,
there are so many more that are winnable if the Democrats look at this as a playbook.
All we have to do is try.
How about get locals, talk to locals, work local.
Put some try. Like, we need to try.
And instead of having this idea based off of, what the political makeup of Washington is, and insisting that only that can be considered pragmatic and anything outside that boundaries is unrealistic and, unviable, as opposed to actually going and talking to people in the district and learning like what policies work there or will appeal there, and like trying to sell your message and convictions and ideas to the locals. That's how you win the elections.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast earlier, and someone on the podcast said that, like, for the Democrats, it's like, I don't want to hear what I'm voting against. I want to hear what I'm voting for. And I think that's like a lot of what the Democratic Party and Democratic candidates are struggling with, because it's like you have a lot of individuals like Randy Bryce, who's running in Paul Ryan's district, and who knows what he's about, and he's doing a good job selling his message the best he can. And he's got a lot of supporters behind him because he's for real. Like, he is telling you what he is about and what he thinks is great, and like he wants to know what you're about, and like, but then you have like like other like the Georgia election, like that was more of a let's vote against Trump. And voting against is only going to get you so far. It's only getting you.
You have to have the issues. You have to have the local buy-in. You just have to do these things. And the Republicans spent 30 years building up that local infrastructure to do so. And the Democrats spent that 30 years letting what they had in place so long ago deteriorate.
Because we were selling out to Wall Street and be a big business. And we thought that we took advantage of voters because we were like, oh, well, they're never going to, the other guy's worse. No, eventually someone's going to sit there and say, well, what do I have to lose?
Yeah, but the other guy's talking to me.
Yeah.
I mean, the other guy's here.
Also, you know what?
The other guy knows my name.
And
there's a lot of people they're out there going, well, sure, these guys are slightly less bad, but I'm getting fucked either way. Why should I bother to participate?
At least this guy's having a beer with me right now. Like,
fuck it, I'll just stay home. I've got other shit I could do. I could take a shift at work that day.
Yeah.
I got bills to pay, motherfucker.
And then like the Tea Party was kind of built around like vote against, and like they died out real fucking fast.
Yeah, and that was specifically targeting a group of people that are like the most reliable block of voters in existence.
Yeah. So it's like the Democratic Party like needs to stop running the the other guy's worst campaign and really start to figure out what they want to be.
I don't understand. The thing that I don't understand is why so many Democrats I've talked to seem to have trouble understanding that. Like, I've had that conversation 100 times, probably literally 100 times at this point, with someone who just doesn't seem to understand that saying, but that guy's worse, isn't enough.
It's not a message. It's a threat.
Yeah.
It's a threat. And guess what? Eventually, when you say it enough, it's no longer a threat.
So there we are. The Democrats need to work more local. Although that's the thing we've been saying, since the show's beginning. I mean, everyone knows this. Here locally for us, we have 2, sometimes even 3 times a week at this point, various political meetings in our office where we let the local Democrats use our space, our studio to do, what we can do to join in. And, everyone out there with space or with time should be joining in on the local level if you care about these issues.
Yeah, and we just try. We need candidates. If you think you can run, if you think you have a message, throw your hat in the ring,
Look at the members of Congress already. Can you really do worse than that?
Yeah.
No, you are probably better than most of them.
Yeah, you are at least average.
I mean, if Stacey
Congress.
Dash can put her hat in the ring, so can you.
So this week we lost Stephen Hawking. And that's a good 40 plus years past when the doctor said he would.
Yeah,
No, it was more like 50.
Really
Yeah.
made it a long time for
I'm
someone with his
surprised
medical issues.
by his age. I thought he was older. I thought
Really?
he was in his 80s, to be
No,
honest. No, he was
76.
76.
Yeah. He was an interesting man. I'm a, as everyone knows, I am what I refer to as a devout atheist. Very much science is, where I find my truth. And Stephen Hawking was always one of my heroes. He was always that guy out there just looking for that absolute truth. And one of the funny things I think about the last couple weeks was, a couple weeks ago when word started hitting, maybe even it was a few weeks ago in the news that Stephen Hawking might have figured out what happened before the Big Bang. And then, only a couple weeks later, before any like real solid reporting out of that, other than he might have figured it out, he's dead. All my conspiracy theorist friends are going nuts over that one. Like, what did he figure out that he wasn't supposed to? And I'm like, he was just sick, actually, guys.
Yeah, he wasn't
Clearly, God on the grassy knoll with the second rifle took him out to keep him from spilling the beans.
Yeah, he couldn't even move his, like, I don't know, I think he could blink towards the end.
Barely, yeah.
Yeah, so
He
it's
was
like,
losing a lot.
no, the fact that he made it to 76 is a miracle.
Oh, yeah.
For us, not just him, but for the world, the things that we learned from his work.
Maybe he was God. Maybe that's why he figured it out, because he is God and God knows all, right? That's what I've been told. I don't know. That's what I hear.
I don't really believe in fairy tales, so,
Why? Disney
I
movies
don't
are
have
great.
imaginary friends either. And they definitely don't float up in the sky somewhere. Anyways, yeah.
Well, I mean, he floated on a wheelchair.
I don't know that's really floating.
For all my Christian friends, if I haven't already alienated you, you're in a cult. So there you go. Are we done there?
But which one? There's
I know,
so
right?
many.
Like, which cult have you chosen? Is it the Presbyterians, the Lutherans,
Yeah,
the Baptists?
Is it still
Anyways, let's not go too deep down that rabbit hole.
No, I think my favorite joke was there's a Twitter account that says like God says or something like that, and it tweeted out, it's like, it's only been a couple of hours and already Stephen Hawking has given me an in-depth explanation as to why I don't exist.
Oh, it's great. I've seen some like real good artwork, like paintings of like, his spirit rising up out of his body. And then I've seen them posted on forums like Reddit and whatnot, and everyone just responding, he was atheist, right? But if you look at the artwork, it's like some of the most beautiful stuff I've ever seen created that fast. And I'm like, I agree with that comment, except like, you're a dick, because this is beautiful.
Because he also respected why people like believed in it. Like he knew it was like
Yeah, he knew how broken we were.
Yeah, like he knew that people needed a sense of like value, and religion for a lot of people gives people a sense of value. Even if it doesn't matter if it's fake or not, it's just like
You're right.
It's cryptocurrency. It gives you a false sense of value. Like,
nice. Bitcoin is God.
It's like
boy.
it's like the
I like
equi-
it.
it's-
r/Bitcoin supports that.
How do we start another war between r/Bitcoin and r/BTC? Anyone want to join in on this? Let's go.
I don't know what those words mean.
Oh, that's really good for you, in fact. You should continue not
you should
knowing
feel
what
good
that
about
meant. That's not even sarcasm. Literally, never learn what I just said. Don't get it making sense.
There's a lot of things that I don't want to learn what you've said.
It's good policy.
Good times. All right.
Yeah.
So there we go. So we lost a great one, and that sucks.
I hope someone finds like a memoir of that he's been like secretly writing, so we can read about it.
I mean, what I think is sad is that, we lose all the entertainers, all the musicians, and at some specific time next year on TV, we're going to see a memorial of them all go by. And there's no like science version of that. There's no, the Oscars, in memoriam section for
I'm
these
sure
people.
he'll be in one. I mean, they made a movie about him, so
They did. They could do it next year. We got to petition the Oscars for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, screw the Oscars, but like still,
Right.
like,
But he was like a celebrity, so hopefully he'll be in one.
we'll find
They
out.
should just make they should need to do a special on
They
him.
can just give him a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Wow. All right. I mean, he was on The Simpsons.
Yeah, and
So-
Futurama.
And Futurama. So there we go. All right, guys.
It's legit.
That is episode 48 for tonight here. Thanks for listening, everyone. Check out all of our fun social. We will have all kinds of new stuff coming up next week and the following weeks. So stay tuned. All right. Bye.
The GreggHoush Show was created by GreggHoush, executive produced by co-host Derek Gowrays, and co-hosted by Kayla Avery. Other contributors include producer and writer Anna Jeffrey, co-host producer David McGuffin, and writer-engineer Robert Tortora. Theme music for this show was produced and recorded by Geneva de Colbert. Our interns include co-host Casey McLaughlin, writer-engineer Alec Greeny, writer Maddie LoCicero, and associate producer, writer, and announcer William Kennedy. You're listening to New Revolutionary Radio, your call to action.